Welcome back to another episode of Jason's Bricks and 5, where I discuss LEGO content in videos of around 5 minutes. Well, I am in front of my city of Fiverton, and it's probably applicable to today's video because it's going to be a video more of 5 or 10 minutes. So this one will be a little bit longer because for those of you that are familiar with the channel or watch, the Breaking News podcast I do with Alex Nunes, check it out if you don't. You may have seen the videos where I covered my trip to Brickworld Chicago in June. My wife and I went. It was our first time traveling to a LEGO convention outside of Utah, and it was a lot of fun. Really an interesting and really a great experience. There was the LEGO aspect of it. There was the community aspect of seeing people that I either viewers or other content creators that I watch, and that was a lot of fun. But it was just really a great time that we had. And so I've got my Brickworld shirt on, and some people have told me that they would be interested in seeing some of the build highlights that I found from the show. So sometimes I've wondered if those videos are of interest, because I don't want to put out content that kind of drags on. And so what I'm going to present here is just kind of a small little compilation of some of the builds that stood out. Now, I will tell you this, because I just went through my videos and kind of picked the highlights. This is not an all-encompassing list. There were a lot of amazing builds, and a number of them that I just either didn't have pictures or video of. So it's not going to be all-inclusive of everything at the show, but these are just some of the highlights that stood out to me. One of the things when I go to these shows, and I've seen this at Brick Slopes and now at Brickworld, they've got these big, massive builds, and you may see these other places. Like, for example, they had this large locomotive that when you walked right in the door, it was there. It was huge, and I know the same one was shown at BrickCon Atlanta, I think it was. And, it's neat to see that in person, but this is something some people may have seen, from other shows or whatever. When I go, I not only look for those, I look for some of the smaller, kind of maybe overlooked builds. And you'll see those are some of the items here, so some of them might be things that might not jump out at first, but, I'll try to explain why these were things I found interesting. Some of them it's the details, some of them it's the way that they used the LEGO in a different method than I'd ever seen before. So go ahead and enjoy this, and we'll be back to recap.
So our first day at the convention, we had only been there a few minutes, and I saw this impressive build. This was actually a functioning spinning wheel, and you can see she was actually making yarn out of a LEGO spinning wheel. I never thought of that before. And then shortly after, I saw this, which was essentially like a sweater vest made out of mesh netting and LEGO parts. It was incredible. Then we saw this Guess Who game with different YouTube personalities. No, Alex and I were not on there, but it was kind of cool because I did see Jabo and Shy Time, so that was kind of fun. And then over in an area where they had kind of some of the art and mosaics, they had these great Bad Batch Star Wars ones, and then these clone and just different Star Wars characters. I really like the mosaics. And then there's these art projects where if you look at it from one angle, it's one picture, and then you go to the other side and it's a different picture. So I really like the Bob Ross one. One of the highlights for me as far as a big build was this Disney World build. I really like Disney parks, you may know that. And I just thought this was impressive to see how they tried to incorporate all of the Magic Kingdom from Florida and bring that out here. And it was also the only one with an Oswald. This was pretty creative because it was a Star Wars Kenner action figure recreation, which I thought was really neat. And even the pegboard and the back is made out of LEGO bricks. Now, my wife is a big fan of the LEGO Botanicals, and this one really jumped out with these sunflowers, so that was one we really liked. Next, we have this set. You may have seen it on Breaking News. This was made by our buddy Shy. It's really kind of a neat build because of the meaning to him as being a veteran and what it means. This next one, if I remember correctly, was a group collaboration by the Denver Lug, I believe it was. I know they were out of Colorado, but it's amazing because it was different people that worked on different sections, and they brought this all the way from Colorado. And just all the detail with the trees and the forest, the buildings, it was just really an impressive build. Now, sometimes at the LEGO convention, you have to kind of take a moment to take things in to get the full effect, and this is one of those, I think. This is a collection of Seinfeld builds, And the person created a lot of different scenes that are kind of iconic things from the show. There's, of course, the apartment, but there's the Monk's restaurant. There is the Merv Griffin scene. There's the Peterman bus tour where Kramer's getting rid of the muffin stumps. And then, of course, you wouldn't have a Seinfeld without George riding the whale. As George said, "The sea was angry that day, my friend, like an old man trying to send back soup at a deli." Oh, I loved this next one. It was probably my favorite micro build in the entire show. This is by Door County Bricks. That's his Instagram handle. And it's kind of a neat build because his family has a lot of connection and memories to Door County, which is up in Wisconsin. And they go up there every year. And so it's kind of neat that he's recreated the island and some of the key icons. And I just thought that was a really cool thing. You know, when people can make builds that mean something to them, I think that really ups that build that much more. Oh, I thought this was clever. It was kind of a take on Luke versus the Wampa in a video game setting. And then this one was a lot of fun. This is Napoleon Dynamite theme, and what they've done is they've created just a whole bunch of different vignettes or scenes from the movie. So they're not really large builds, but the detail is really kind of what tells the story. Whether it's Uncle Rico throwing the steak at Napoleon, or him calling Kip about needing chapstick because his lips hurt real bad. You got the tetherball, you've got the wedding. It was just a lot of fun. And then this was one of the ones I kind of watched throughout the show because the first day he was setting up, and then as it developed, it really kind of stood out more and more to me. Of course, there's the Great Space Monorail, which, you know, that and the classic space is kind of in my childhood, even though I didn't have the monorail. But I love those flying ships, how he made that effect with the train pieces. Really neat. Oh, and then we've got Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated for all of you Phineas and Ferb fans. I thought that was a lot of fun. A lot of purple bricks. And then this was kind of interesting. I didn't realize at first what it was, but it was evidently someone that's a big Wall-E fan, and they've made like Wall-E in different dimensions, I guess. There's kings and robots and pirates and all kinds of different Wall-Es. So I know Wall-E is a robot, but anyway, kind of a fun thing. This was clever, you know, having built the upscaled Oswald, seeing all of these Star Wars figures. Some of them appear to have used the helmets, but not all of them. I thought this was, you know, kind of a neat build and a kind of a cool collection of figures. And then this was definitely one of the highlights for me. As a kid, I loved Willy Wonka, and this builder, they had taken kind of the major scenes from the movie and recreated them. I mean, look at that room with the chocolate river and all of the detail in there. You can see the room where the everlasting gobstopper machine is. You know, I can see Violet complaining about wanting the golden goose right there, and you can see her falling down the chute. Mike TV, of course, and then Willy Wonka going up in the elevator. And this build, this was one that I think was impressive just by the scale. This was one when you first walked in the door of this train, just massive. I think probably everyone was impressed. And this one was not far behind it. The Statue of Liberty with the fireworks behind it was even more impressive in the night, but really neat build. And then this was the other micro scale that I really liked. This was the National Mall in Washington, D.C. It was kind of neat to see how they had captured all of, you know, the buildings along there, and they used a really neat technique for the lighting. And then this is just another one of these builds that, you know, has a ton of detail, and the fact that someone can make something this big, you know, this medieval scene, and transport it to the show, whether they're local or from across the country, is just amazing. Just so many different little stories going on, and, you know, people fighting ogres and knights fighting and all kinds of different things. Just really cool. Sticking with the medieval theme, you can see we have a goat, but it's an upscale goat. And this is one of the things that I find at the show. You see mechanisms that in practice are actually quite simple, but it's amazing to see how someone came up with that. I really love how the snowplow comes and moves the snow, and it's got the name of the fox lug there, and it just refills it. Then there was this porg, so kind of a mesh of Star Trek and Star Wars. I thought was clever. And then this was something different because it was like a European city, but you could tell it was maybe during World War II or something. You've got kind of the war-torn buildings. And next we have another small gym. This was an iconic scene from I Love Lucy with the chocolate, so any older people would recognize that. And then we had the after dark period where they turned out the lights, and this build really stood out at night. It was kind of a man, but this was probably my favorite one at the nighttime because it was different. A lot of times there's lights or lighting effects, but this one they actually recreated the effects that Disney World uses, where they project onto the castle, and they had other lighting, but I thought that was just different and cool.
There you have it. That is at least some of the great builds I saw at Brickworld. Certainly was not an all-inclusive list. There were some great builds, and some of them I honestly thought I had pictures or videos of, and I didn't. For example, Team B is one of the channels that I follow, and they had a great Ninjago build, and it was lit up at night, and it was amazing. And when I looked, I evidently didn't take any photos of that, and I feel bad because that is one I would have wanted to highlight it. And there were others like that, but I think this is at least a good sampling of some of the builds and why they stood out to me. Let me know if there were things, either in this video that you enjoyed, or if you went to Brickworld, are there things that jumped out at you? What are the things that you really liked? And, maybe what are the things you look for when you go to a Lego show? So thanks for watching this episode of Jason's Bricks in 5, and we'll see you next time. Happy building!